This is one of the best stories for Peter Parker. It's like something I've never seen before. When it comes to his origin, Peter's life will never be the same in the Ultimate Universe. It begins 20 years ago. Peter Parker was at the lab, where the radioactive spider would have bitten his hand and turned him into a hero. But Peter didn't become Spider-Man after the Maker prevented the radioactive spider from biting Peter. In his teens, he put the spider in a vial. Since then, Peter lived a different life, in which he married Mary Jane Watson. He has a son and daughter, named Richard and May. As Peter was getting ready to leave for work, Peter wasn't feeling right. Something was bothering Peter last night. He couldn't sleep at all. Even MJ noticed Peter was kinda off and looking rough. She wanted to know if Peter wanted to talk about what was bothering him. He told Mary Jane they'll talk about it later. When he comes back from work, Peter works as a journalist at the Daily Bugle. As he walked in, Jonah was already yelling for Parker. Jonah Jameson was actually like a mentor to Peter at times, and was even nice to him surprisingly. But Jonah wasn't calling for Peter when screaming Parker. He was actually yelling for Ben Parker, who is the managing editor at the Daily Bugle. With his nephew Peter, Ben and Jonah have been really close over the years. Jonah wanted to talk about their meeting and how the financing wants both of them there. But Ben has somewhere important to be before the meeting starts. Jonah lets Ben know he can try to push the meeting back in case he needs extra time while out. Ben tells Jameson it's fine, he doesn't have to do that. He's gonna make sure to be back by 4 to be there for the meeting with him. Peter enters the room to ask Uncle Ben if he's ready to go. As they both leave, Peter is worried about Uncle Ben and wants to know if he is okay. Ben tells him how it was for the both of them. When Peter's parents died, him and Aunt May showed Peter the best love and taught him about the world and prepared him for it, and they never wanted to replace his parents at all. Then Ben says that was 20 years ago. He asks Peter, has a day gone by? He doesn't think about them. And is there a day it doesn't hurt that they are gone? Peter realizes how Uncle Ben feels, because they soon arrived at Aunt May's funeral. During the huge ceremony, Aunt May was part of the destruction left at the Illuminati attack. At the end of Ultimate Universe, after the attack, the Illuminati made the world believe Tony Stark was the one who planned the whole terrorist attack. The speaker at the ceremony was Father Matt Murdock. He was a priest and was giving some positive words of encouragement, reassuring even though their loved ones are gone, their memories will not be forgotten. The next speaker came up soon after he finished. It was Harry Osborn, the CEO of Oscorp Industries. Harry lost both of his parents, Norman and Emily, during the attack. He talked about how great of a father Norman was, and he made him feel so special growing up. Harry admits that he still can't move on after his father's death and knows that other people in the audience are sad, that they got robbed of their future and left with nothing but memories of their loved ones. He says it's not enough and something like this is hard to accept. After the speech, MJ privately tells Peter that she met Harry once and how he is now a completely different person. Peter recalls that Ben had interviewed Norman Osborn over the years, but he never got even a hint of who Norman really was, other than being known as a ruthless billionaire who founded his company. After the ceremony, Peter and Ben head back to the Daily Bugle for the meeting with Jonah, but as soon as they walk in, Jameson throws paper in rage, then storms out shouting he quits, because they were making a lot of changes to the Bugle, and he didn't like what they were doing. Robbie informs Uncle Ben that they have gotten a lot of complaints from their advertisers. They didn't like the coverage on the Stark attack. They had no other choice but to make some changes that were asked from the board in the broader ownership of the Daily Bugle. It turned out to be Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin. He offered Jonah's job position to Ben while it's still fresh, not even caring about how things ended with JJ. Ben just looks at him with a smirk and walks out of the meeting into the elevator with JJ and asked him what are they going to do now. Later on that day, while Wilson is stepping out of his vehicle, his car is blown up and nearly killing him by this universe's Green Goblin. He flies off with no trace. After leaving the Bugle, Ben and Jonah are at a bar, talking about starting their own news outlet, but Jonah wants to know what will be the difference between what they were doing compared to the possible new outlet for him and Ben. Ben tells him, we will tell the truth. JJ finds it funny and lets out a huge laugh. He tells Ben it's funny because there is no such thing as telling the truth because this is a dirty business. Jonah then suggested let's not tell a lie instead, which will make it better for them when telling a story. Ben finds that idea is a good start. During their talk, Peter shows up, and they tell him about their idea and offers Peter a job. Peter wants to know if they have money, but JJ puts a pause on that question as he leaves the bar, saying that's a second-day problem. Peter asked Uncle Ben, how do you just blow up your life so fast and start a whole new one immediately? Ben explains that it is an easy choice. He cannot take part in an industry of compromise 1 minute more. Ben notices something is troubling Peter, so he asks him, "What's going on?" Peter answers by explaining he feels like Mary Jane deserves better than him, but she disagrees, which makes him feel better, and for the longest he's felt like something was wrong with him. And now he knows he's been right all along, but he cannot explain what it is. Ben encouragingly tells Peter to not spend his life waiting for something to happen, but make it happen. And wake up. After their conversation, Uncle Ben leaves. Peter heads home and checks on his kids, making sure they're asleep. Peter and MJ start having their talk about what's really bothering Peter underneath. He tells her the same way he pretty much explained it to Uncle Ben. But MJ already knew something was wrong, like there was something missing in Peter's life. So MJ asks Peter does he know what to do, and he says yes. She asks Peter will anything happen between them. Peter says never. So after hearing this, Mary Jane heads to bed and tells Peter go get Tiger. Peter then grabs the orb and heads to the roof. Then it goes to a flashback to the night before. When Peter was given the orb, he received a mysterious glowing box the night before that kept telling him it was meant for Peter Parker. Then a hologram of Iron Lad pops up saying if his plan was right, he should be talking to Peter Parker. He explains this message is sent 6 months into the future, and there was an attempt that endangered him and his friends' lives, so they had to leave to the only safe place he knew of. Tony explains how 20 years ago, he was supposed to get bitten by a radioactive spider and become one of Earth's greatest heroes. A dangerous evil went back in time and changed his history. And the same for others too. Tony tells Peter how he was destined to protect the innocent and inspire people to be the best they could ever be. After that, the flashback comes back to the present, where the rest of the message plays in Peter's head, saying they took your future away from you. But the question is, do you want it back? As Peter touches the orb, it releases 2 things out of it, a black bowl containing a stealth suit, and a radioactive spider in a vial. So Peter opens the vial and lets the spider bite his hand, transforming him into his true destiny as the protector of New York City, as Ultimate Spider-Man. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.